why don't you guys set the scene for us? What did your donor relations landscape look like when we first started talking? What were your biggest challenges?
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. When I arrived in November of 2024, so previous to my arrival, there was a bit of a restructure. So Tia began overseeing donor relations. And I believe you all came on board maybe six to 8 months prior to that, so early 2024. So when I arrived, we really started to dig in. We frankly thought we were going to be able to just roll it out very quickly with that round of reporting. And what we discovered, Tia had just begun over donor relations. I was new. Kaia actually was not with me yet, and our third position wasn't full yet. So we had a very fresh start and fresh eyes on this. And I probably panicked a little bit in the beginning, thinking I'm not sure how we're ever going to get this out, first time around. And I'll say the first thing from our client experience was how supportive at that point really Andrea was and how supportive John was and kind of easing my concerns and saying, okay, take this one step at a time. I'd worked in donor relations, but not directly in a role like this. So there was a lot of onboarding and a lot of learning at that point. We actually hit the pause button because we weren't ready from a data standpoint at least we didn't think we were ready at that point. So we kind of went back. Kaya jumped on board with me, not fully in this role, but as someone who was helping me get through the first round. Again, it was November and we wanted these to go out by January, so it was a pretty quick turnaround. I think at that point in the new year, Andrea really encouraged us to just level set and kind of start over. So really learn from the beginning. I was able to onboard from square one. Kaya was able to do the same, just like we were bringing Mythos new, and the support you all gave us was unbelievable. So fast forward, we get through the next 3 to 4 months. Kaya built our first spreadsheet with a ton of support from you all. And then a few months ago, we came down to kind of wrap up the first year and look at the next year. And I'll say it eased the intensive we did with you gave us all so much support and so much confidence in not only our future with Mythos, but the work we had done to get to where we were and to successfully, send our first year of reports out. And then to echo what I believe it was Ezra, someone said earlier, really what this will become for us in a donor experience, not an annual report. And I think, that intensive that we did just really helped all of us to take a deep breath. And we're a small team with a large university. And I think we were having some confidence questions about whether, we were going to, how far we could take this. And we walked away from the intensive really seeing the horizon and what we can do with Mythos together.
That's awesome. Yeah, we did a lot of, I mean, you were rebuilding from the ground up, right? Like rethinking your whole program. We did timelines, right? We did a little bit of who's working on what and that sort of basic infrastructure sort of stuff, all the way up to, and what does our end deliverable look like and how are we going to get
Mhm.
there? So that extra layer of support that you probably wouldn't have gotten just from using Mythos on your own. And Kaya, maybe you can talk a little bit about this. How did it sort of change your progress, change your trajectory? Renee, you mentioned gaining some confidence and some skills. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, so I think really stepping back and saying we're not going to be able to get out the 800 reports we want to get out this year, but let's start small. Let's start with just endowed scholarships and endowed funds and current use scholarships. So really limiting the amount of reports we're going to have to put out allowed us to refocus and get our data straight and make sure the sites and PDFs were where we wanted them to be before we took over all of the funds, which is what we're heading towards this year. And we're already starting, which is great. But having Andrea there to really give me the resources I needed, she would send me example spreadsheets and tell me exactly what columns I would need. In those spreadsheets, gave me example PDFs. Really, nothing was off the table, and all the resources that I needed, she was able to provide. And Sarah, from the design perspective, was super helpful when I was like, I don't know how to change the site, or I want it to look a little bit different. She would kind of go in from the back end and help me manipulate it in the way that I wanted it. And now I think going forward this year, having a full year ahead to look forward to, we've really sketched out our timelines and are going to do this way more meticulously than we did before, now that we have like the entire cycle to be able to look through, and just having that experience from the past has been so helpful. So I would just say, don't be intimidated. You have to at least, I think, do one full run through of using the software to be able to get used to it. And I mean, we're a team of three now. It was really just me working on it last year, so it's doable with even like the smallest of teams and very limited resources. So just get through it your first time, and then it will become easier and better every single time that you do it.
And that's such a great point, right? You're often implementing Mythos with all the best intentions for your timeline, and you end up smack dab in the middle of a reporting cycle, right? And it's sort of, what can we do? What can we make happen? What do we have to make sure happens next year because we can't accommodate it this year? And being confident that that's okay. You're going to get through it. It's a learning cycle. And next year, right, we're going to have the time to breathe and plan. Andrea and I often say, your year one, you're translating your exact processes. Year two is when we can start to think about what we do differently. So teams who are similar, in a similar position, maybe new to donor relations, building something from scratch, maybe they're feeling super overwhelmed. What would you tell them about this kind of partnership? What would you say to someone who's sort of on the fence about, is consulting right for me? Is it something I can sell to my leadership, right? Under the guise of your Mythos contract. How would you sort of encourage someone that this is a great value proposition?
I would say on a large scale, Mythos has, in your support, have helped us troubleshoot so many things. So in the process of building this tremendous tool that's going to have great donor impact and move so many of our goals along, there were times where we would look at each other and the data and say, how are we not, what are we missing? What's not, how do we get all of our stewardies right? Why are we missing so many? And sitting with you, Sarah, especially having the perspective of where you came from and implementing this on a similar scale, we were able to step back and say we're not alone. There's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of support, not just from the Mythos team, but from other organizations and universities that have implemented this, where there's so many times where there's no way that that everyone has this issue or has this challenge. And when we stepped into this, I think what we really realized is no, actually everybody has these challenges. And going through this process, trusting the process, has allowed us to address really foundational things that we want to make sure we get right moving forward. I'd say we're also in the midst of onboarding an entirely new CRM. So we're converting CRMs. We're in the process of that. So the support from Mythos has helped us again build the new CRM in a way that things will be more cohesive and more congruent and user friendly and accurate. And I just, my biggest recommendation would be, don't short set your expectations. Come into it with a very open mind and what it can be. Don't worry about what it has to be or making sure we produce the same exact reports we've always been producing. Come into it thinking, what can we do? What could this be on so many levels, and just be open to it. Because I'd say the places where we were stuck the first year was when we were stuck in that bubble of, what does this have to be? And again, coming back that whole ride back from DC, we were just talking about, we could do this, we could do this. It
Yes,
felt
dream
like we
big.
could do it and not limited by our resources.
Ah, I love that. Dreaming big and then bringing it to reality. It's my favorite.